you did so much film work on him going into the draft last year, and it's so unfortunate we haven't seen him at all yet in the NFL, but we're going to. What should we expect?
I think a lot of the things that you hear Kevin O'Connell talking about as far as how brilliant he is, in the meeting rooms and how good of a guy he is in the locker room, you're going to see that translate on the football field. And what he's talking about is that he has functional intelligence. He has functional athletic ability, functional instincts. In real time, you see it all come together, and it's why they moved up to draft him number 10 overall. This guy's one of the great leaders. He can move in the pocket. He can pick up first downs with his legs. He can make all platform throws. He just wasn't asked to do, Hannah, as you know, he wasn't asked to do this and carry the load when he was at Michigan. He's going to be asked to do a lot more of it now, and I think he'll be up to the challenge. He's got a fantastic team and a fantastic coaching staff surrounding him.
Yeah. And that's what I said before about JJ McCarthy, that just because he didn't do something before doesn't mean that he can't. Just because he wasn't asked to do certain things at Michigan doesn't mean that he's incapable of doing it, which is, always, rubbed me the wrong way in that regard. But Kevin O'Connell said something that I really liked, where he's like, I'm surprised by the things that he does know. And, this is something that I've been hammering a lot before, is that so much of the coaching experience with especially a quarterback is trying to figure out what you do know and what you don't know and exploring that. And so it's such a learning process and a learning experience for both JJ McCarthy and Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell needs to deeply understand what JJ McCarthy knows and doesn't know, what he's comfortable with and what he's uncomfortable with. And he did not have that chance last year. They didn't really have a chance to really explore and develop that as much, which is why I kept saying that, this is not equivalent to him having, to him sitting out for a year and learning, like we saw like a Mahomes do, or Jordan Love, or, whoever, that they were kind of robbed of that they didn't really get to have that experience. And that's why this is very much a year one rookie quarterback and not a year two, he got to sit and learn quarterback. And what's so cool too about JJ McCarthy right now is that it feels like an underdog. It feels like, that he's that people don't have a lot of belief in him. And the fact that the Minnesota Vikings were an unbelievable team last year and won all these games and were a game away from having the number one seed in the NFC and having, I think it would have given them also the best record in the NFL, or at least tied with the best record with the Chiefs. And yet somehow there's a ton of doubt around what this team can do. And I love those moments, honestly. I mean, I live for that, quite frankly. I really, really do. It can be fun when a lot of people believe in your team and your player, your quarterback, whatever. But something about proving people wrong also just feels, one of the best feelings that you can get. So I'm excited the Vikings kind of have this energy. I know Dan Orlovsky is pretty supportive of the Vikings right now, and obviously Louis Riddick is as well. But it seems like a lot of the other more mainstream shows, like First Things First, The Herd, et cetera, there's not a lot of belief. And what I always find so interesting is that we can talk about a franchise or a coach specifically. Let's use Kevin O'Connell here. We could say, I think Kevin O'Connell is an awesome coach. I think he's this great coach, an offensive guru. He knows the quarterback position so well. He's special. He's a top coach in the NFL. And then question that, how good will JJ McCarthy be? I don't know. Is he really that good of a quarterback? Did they, should they have moved up? Should they start him? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, that's the decision of the coach that you just praised and said was awesome. So you either trust him or you don't. Like, that's what it gets boiled down to. You either believe in this coach or you don't. From my viewpoint, you can't say, I think Kevin O'Connell is just an unbelievable coach. He's awesome. He's amazing. But then I don't trust his decisions that he makes. It's like, how does that really make sense? Now, if he's proven to get that wrong, because I believe you could be an amazing coach, and that you could be an amazing play caller, game planner, etc., but you don't have a great eye for talent or something, or you're not even great at developing a quarterback even, right? Like you're just great at already taking a quarterback who already has a great baseline of skills and going from there. I believe that could be the case. But Kevin O'Connell hasn't shown us that, though. It's not like Kevin O'Connell has shown us, you know what, he's an amazing play caller and game planner, blah, blah, blah. But like, dude, he's been pulling the strings, and he does not know how to evaluate college talent and how it'll translate into the NFL. Like that's not his history. So it's just like, so some of this doubt, I understand skepticism. I was talking about this literally just today in the comment section with someone about skepticism versus doubt. And it's like skepticism, it makes sense. When you haven't seen something, I understand skepticism. That's a sign of intelligence. That makes sense. You're not taking something off of just blind faith. You're not just taking a random leap just for taking a random leap. But when that blends and blurs into doubt, well, that's now you trying to mistake skepticism for doubt, and doubt often, especially in the media and especially when you have a big firm take, it sounds more intelligent. I do not think JJ McCarthy will be good, and here's why. He's never did it with Michigan, and he's a young quarterback and blah blah blah, and it sounds so much more insightful. You sound smarter. You know something. Well, it's not going to translate from college to the NFL. Look what they asked him to do in college. It was really the system. It was really hardball, etc., etc. He's not going to be able to do that in the NFL. For some reason, it just sounds smarter. If you say, you know what, we haven't really seen this. I believe he can do it, but we kind of have to wait and see. Then it's kind of like, well, you just don't know, or it's like, oh, you're on the fence. And it's like, no, it's actually just the more intelligent, patient take rather than just trying to be like he's not good. It's just it is a fascinating phenomenon that I continue to observe when having these public conversations and watching media, anyone in the media really kind of verbalize their takes, that the negative almost always sounds more intelligent. It sounds more like I'm an intellectual, I'm understanding something, I'm digesting something. Think about when everyone is so hyped on something and you're the one voice that doubts it. It just sounds smart because everyone else is saying, look how amazing, look how amazing, look how amazing. And you're like, no. I know something that you guys are just not seeing. So, and I don't think it's being done on purpose because I don't think the media is smart enough. I think some of the media is smart enough. I think some of them know what they're doing, but I think the vast majority do not. I just think they're just kind of just saying what they're saying oftentimes, and part of the fun is trying to swim through that and figure out and dissect it and figure out what's closer to the truth and what's further from the truth. But I'm really excited about finally seeing what JJ McCarthy can do when it's all said and done. I do think he can have a lot of success, and I do think he will have a lot of success, but I do think he will have a typical rookie year. I mean, that has remained my take from the jump right now, especially knowing that he missed the amount of time that he did. And I just fundamentally do not see it as, oh, well, he was in the meetings and he was able to learn and this or that. It's just completely different. It really, really is. And I believe Kevin O'Connell pretty much said that without saying that. He pretty much validated that view, not on purpose and not because it's like this big, grand, shocking take here, but he's pretty much saying like, I'm figuring out who JJ McCarthy is right now, and it's because he was unable to do that last year. If we use Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes as like the gold standard example for this, in year 2, Patrick Mahomes' first year as a starter, Andy Reid deeply understood who Patrick Mahomes was because he was putting a lot of energy and effort into understanding who Patrick Mahomes was during that rookie year. Right, there was a tremendous amount of energy and intentionality behind all of that. That's not what JJ McCarthy had the luxury of doing throughout this last season. So I think they'll be still very much a very green rookie in that regard. But I'm excited to see how fast he can accelerate and how comfortable he can get. Not to mention, he's obviously on an awesome team with an awesome coaching staff, both offensively and defensively, which should really, really help support this whole process and give them a lot of success pretty quickly. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? about the Minnesota Vikings and JJ McCarthy. How quickly do you think JJ can get settled, and how great do you think the Vikings can be? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here. Absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.